Hello, my beautiful fragrance family. Dustin here, fragrance fan. Go ahead and do me a solid and click that like, comment, and subscribe, and don't forget to hit that bell notification. And I'm just going to keep on giving you guys these budget-friendly fragrance reviews, that 40-ish and under dollar range. Most of these are way less than that, and a good number of these you can find at your local rack stores. And I compiled another list here for you guys. Some of you guys said that you like these lists, so I'm going to make a few of them, and I decided, since I have been leaving out the clone fragrances in my list, I decided to go with my 5 favorite clones from the rack stores that I've picked up so far. And by clone, I don't mean like English Laundry's London being Creed Aventus, or like Mont Blanc Starwalker Extreme being like, kind of like Versace Man Eau Fraiche or something like that. I'm talking about your Muratas, Camaras, the Contra, Milestone Privé, you get the point. Those fragrances with those atomizers, So in no particular order, and by the way, these are all like cool weather fragrances, and I mean, they didn't leave me much of a choice. I have like 50 of these things that are clones, these particular kind of clones, and there's like 6 of them that are okay or good for the warmer weather. So, and they're decent, but they didn't cut for this list. So without rambling too much, let's jump into these things without any kind of particular order. And first up, and by the way, some of these might surprise you. Some of these you might not see coming. So first up, we're gonna go with Milestones Oud Woody. Obviously the Tom Ford Oud Wood clone, and this is spicy sandalwood, vanilla, sweet amber, hints of tonka, and the spice is that Sichuan pepper, giving this thing a lot of life and sparkle and kind of an uplifting feel when you first spray this. It like awakens you a little bit when you first spray it because of that pepper, that Sichuan pepper. And I know this sounds kind of crazy. I don't own the original, but I've smelled it plenty of times. And there's just usually the original has more of a sparkle and more of that magic in the opening. Granted, the original is a little more believable and better quality. Obviously, it's 10 times as much as this thing, but I like the opening of this one better. I think the way they use the Sichuan pepper in this just gives it that extra pop and sparkle. But oud is in the name. Oud Woody, right? And oud is in this fragrance. But it is not some kind of a oud fragrance. If you don't even like oud, you still might like this one. It doesn't come across as a dark, dense, thick, heavy, rich kind of oud. It's more of a sparkly, easy, woody, vanilla, spicy with some oud in the background, giving it the body. So that's what you get in this one. And performance is not bad. It's 5 hours. You overspray with this one, it's still going to be maybe 5 hours, 6 hours maybe, but you'll catch good wafts of yourself throughout the day. This is my scent of the day for church today. And, excuse me, I played the drums for church. I get there really early, right? And I was smelling this thing clearly on me after service. Oud Woody, one of my favorites. Up next, we're gonna go with one that I had a lot of fun wearing and just was discovering things the whole time I was wearing this thing. Milestones Saffron Noir, the Byredo Black Saffron clone. This is a floral, leathery, raspberry kind of a fragrance. The reason why I have so much fun with this thing is this thing is made with some quality. It's kind of got a clean linen vibe a little bit as well. That white florals and the raspberry kind of gives it like a sweet, clean linen vibe. The saffron gives it that rich leather, but it's not like some kind of crazy leather. In the air, this opens up almost like a ombre leather or something like that, but on skin it's different. It's silky and smoother, and the more that it gets into the dry down, the silkier and smoother the florals start coming out, and that raspberry starts getting a little bit more creamy and nice and easy. It's one of those morphing fragrances where the opening is awesome, the mid and the dry down are different but equally impressive and awesome smelling. There we go. Yeah, man, this thing just does it for me. Like I said, that floral, leather, raspberry. It's a fun fragrance, not for everybody, but if you trust my judgment, and the good thing about these things is you can just smell them, you know, unless you're getting it from Burlington, and at that point it's still only gonna be like $15, and you know, if you want something it's very unisex. Again, this one is like slap in the middle, female or male. It doesn't lean one way more than the other because the floral in this isn't overtaking, so it's not like too feminine or anything like that. It has enough leather in it to keep that masculine quality, in my opinion. And the performance on this is pretty decent. You'll get 6.5, me personally, like 6.5 or 7 hours out of this with, you know, moderate projection. I don't think any one of these are a projection beast, with the exception of one of them is pretty strong. But this scent bubble stays a good scent bubble for like 6.5 hours. You'll keep smelling this thing, and that's the cool thing, that it just changes the way that it does, and you just keep on smelling it. So yeah, Saffron Noir by Milestone, excellent fragrance. Up next, the one that probably projects the strongest in my collection. I passed it up a bunch of times, didn't end up picking it up, but I finally did. The reason why I kept passing it up and not picking it up is because I have several fragrances that are similar to this, but I got this one because I kept smelling it and I just felt like it just had an edge in quality, just the depth and character that this one had to offer, and that is Taxco Vamos Leather. This one is raspberry, leather, smoky, woody, spicy. At first, I thought this was more ombre leather, and it might have been when I first got it. But now that this thing has had a decent amount of squirts taken out of it, so it's got some air in there, sitting on the shelf a little bit longer, it's starting to take on more of a Tuscan leather vibe. It was kind of a hybrid at first. I thought leaning more ombre leather. Now it's kind of leaning more Tuscan leather because it's getting more of that raspberry. Whereas ombre leather doesn't really have so much of that sweet raspberry. I don't know what's going on in my throat right now. It's dry or something. Ombre leather doesn't have so much of that raspberry. It's got more like, it just leans more on the spicy, woody, smoky leather side of things. Whereas this one is a little bit sweeter, and this one projects pretty good. It's a good projecting fragrance. It's a long lasting fragrance. This is a 7+ hour fragrance. You spray it 5 or 6 times. It won't fill the room, but it will draw some attention. And if you know ombre leather and Tuscan leather, then, I mean, when you smell this thing, you're gonna be like, yeah, that's exactly what's going on. Raspberry leather, smoky, woody, spicy fragrance. This one does have the pressure atomizer, and it's just something about the rich quality in this thing. This thing is more rich and not juicy, but it just has a heavier, richer, thicker feel than the other ones, in my opinion, with a little bit of a sparkle. There's like a fizziness in this versus the other, like Tuscany leather or something like that I already have. This is the one that I feel takes the edge as far as any of them in this particular scent profile, and I don't have the other one, the Sauvage Elixir clone. I'm still looking for that one, guys. You guys have hyped that thing up like crazy. I can't wait to smell it. I know it's gonna pop up. I feel like it's gonna be at Burlington, and when I do, I'm hopping on that thing and probably gonna give a first impressions on it because I'll be excited when I find it. Up next, this one may or may not surprise you guys, but this is Taxco. And this one it's lightly spicy. It's got patchouli, vanilla, violet, a touch of rose, and a dab of ambroxan in this thing. I just want to smell this thing. I remember when I first found this thing and sprayed it, I kind of got excited. Like, like a dummy, I left my money in the car, and I ran straight back out in the parking lot, and I kind of couldn't get in quick enough, hoping that nobody would grab this thing. And because this was before they were like locked up in the case and they'd hold it like behind the counter or whatever, so I had to go out there and make sure that nobody got this thing with the quickness. And man, am I glad that I did. Like I said again, lightly spicy patchouli, vanilla, that watery violet leaf, just a touch of smooth rose, and a dab of that compliment getting ambroxan. I've received several compliments from this thing, and this isn't going to be one for everyone, as patchouli and ambroxan are two notes that sometimes people don't really like, and this has both of them in it, more so on the patchouli side than the ambroxan. And the violet, also the violet in here, it's not such an aquatic violet, but it does lean kind of a little bit on that petroleum side of the violet in this, but coupled together with everything else, that vanilla and the spice, makes this thing just a super awesome smelling fragrance in my opinion. And last but not least, this was a tough one because I really liked this one, and there's 4 in this line, and this whole line of these particular ones, these flankers, are all great, and that is Kamara's Contra for You. A sweet, nutty, spicy, vanilla, slightly smoky, a very, very smooth hint of smoke. And I think Fragrantica got this one more right than Parfumo.net, because to me, I do get that sugary, nutty feel in this thing. Sugary, nutty, spicy, vanilla, and just some touches of smoke in there, making this thing a compliment beast. Performance is a little above average. Oh, by the way, Taxco is probably a 5-hour fragrance. It doesn't perform all that great, but it is just enough, and it just projects enough that you will garner some attention if you sprayed it not too long before you go out. Whereas this one is a good 6.5, maybe 7 hours. The dry down isn't quite as good. It's a little bit more polarizing than the opening, but the good news is by the time you get to that point, 4 hours into this thing, it's not projecting that much. Refresh with a spray or two and you're going to relive that whole opening that's so awesome in this fragrance. That's why it still made the list, because man, the first few hours of this thing are just awesome. So that is 5 of my favorite Milestone, Kamara, whatever kind of rack store clones that I have found so far. There's plenty more that I'm going to find, I'm sure, that might boot some of these off of that top 5 list, but for now, these are the ones. And yeah, with that, I'm out. Y'all be blessed, take care of yourself always, and until next time.